Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Artega Scalo Superelletra in multiplayer in Asphalt 9 at max. It's not entirely golden, but top speed does have the epic on it, which was really where this car needed it the most, because, well, it is one of the fastest accelerating cars in the game, definitely one of the fastest in Class C. However, its top speed isn't amazing. It goes 205 at max, which is not terrible, but even cars like the Pininfarina go faster than it. But this car's real biggest strength, in general, is being able to get ahead in the beginning. Now, the season that I'm testing it in is the current Slipstream season, where I didn't expect it to do all that great, because generally speaking, Slipstream seasons are best for cars that have really good top speed, which this one doesn't. But what I found was, if I did not start in the front, I was able to catch the slipstream of the people right ahead of me, and therefore get up to top speed extremely fast, ahead of pretty much everybody else. And then the challenge in most of the races was just being able to stay ahead once I got ahead, because so oftentimes I'd run up against cars like the Aranera, for example, which is quite a bit faster than this one by 20 or so miles per hour. And if you're on a fairly straight track and they catch your slipstream, they're going to be passing you pretty much guaranteed, because they're just so much faster and there's not much you can do to avoid it at that point because it's Ghost, so you can't knock them down or block them even if you wanted to. So I found that the races I did the best in, especially with this car, were the ones where I was able to get far enough ahead at the very beginning such that nobody was able to catch my slipstream. Now, this race here, that doesn't entirely happen, so I'm able to get up to speed really fast at the beginning as usual, but then everybody was still just kind of right behind me. But they all chose to go the other way, so nobody was riding my slipstream through here, but they're still riding on all of each other's slipstream. I have a little mess up at the corner there, and although I did salvage it, it pretty much killed any hope that I had of getting away in this race. Because at this point, everybody was right there on my tail. A Vencer passed me. The Vencer is another one of those cars that's like 20 miles per hour faster. So if they catch your slipstream and they're able to stay on it, it's not going to be easy for you in this car. This Scalo is definitely still one of the best C-Class cars for multiplayer, because that crazy fast acceleration gives it a big advantage, and this car will do even better when you are not in Slipstream season. I think that is one reason why it struggled a little bit through here, but still you can see, even with that little bit of disadvantage that it has, I was still able to do very well throughout most of these races and come in first in this one, even with Vencers and Pininfarinas on my tail. It is generally a pretty reliable car to drive. The acceleration obviously is really good. The nitro is decent, not the greatest, but definitely adequate. I believe that its biggest disadvantage, aside from having the somewhat mediocre speed for its class, is also having somewhat mediocre handling. It is slightly stiff to drive. It's not as stiff as something like the, say, F12 TDF or Alfieri, which you guys know are quite stiff, but it's still more so than something like the Pininfarina, obviously, so you'll have to keep that in mind. It doesn't turn as well as some of the other higher-end C-Class cars that you might be used to. But again, even that's not bad, and so for anyone who got this car or started up in the recent car hunt, it's definitely a really, really good one to test out in multiplayer Silver League. You could even try it in Gold League. I'm not entirely sure how good it does there. I feel like, again, it would do better in Gold League when you are not in a Slipstream season, but it's very competitive in Silver League even now. Right here, I was very afraid that I was going to come in 4 out of 5, but thankfully I was able to pass this Vencer and Aranera at the very last second to come in second place, although an Alfieri did beat us there. Now we're moving on to a race on Nevada against another Legions United member, Sky, who is in a maxed out Gallardo. And I'm in a car that is almost 1,000 rank lower than him. Yeah, while this car is still very good for its class, it's one of the older-ish ones, so it definitely has a lower rank than a lot of the newer ones, which it can still compete pretty well with. So you can see Sky right up there in his Huracan, but the good thing about Slipstream that I've found is that if you're able to get just behind people before ramps, oftentimes you can just shockwave up all of them, which is really nice, and it's what allowed me to get into third, now fourth again position, as people pass me due to their superior speed. But I knew that I could possibly catch up to, at the very least, the air and air around some of the turns coming up, so that was what I was going to try to do. So along with this season, the other one that opened up about a day ago was for the Apollo IE, a max free try season for that car finally, and I'll probably make a video on it. What's funny is that back when I made my video with C22 Raptors races with the Apollo IE, I had thought that that one had already come, but I had just done the max test on it outside of multiplayer and not in multiplayer yet. So yeah, I'll definitely do that one, as it's a car that's probably still on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, being the Legend Pass car and being the one required for the Devo. Although I'm sure at this point, everybody's already made up their minds on whether or not they want to spend money on it. So here I go up this ramp almost neck and neck with this Aranera and managed to get enough speed on that ramp to come in second place, just behind Sky, but ahead of this F40, the Acura, the Aranera, and all of those higher ranked cars. In this race, we are again facing Legions United Sky, but this time he is also in his Super Elytra, which is completely Golden Max, so 3088. And I'm hoping that with the current Riot, I'll be able to completely max the car too, but we all know, or maybe you don't, but my luck in the car hunt Riots has never been especially great for getting epics, but maybe I'll get some good luck this time. We'll see. Something that GameLoft talked about in their most recent dev chat that I haven't really talked much about yet is a club versus club competition, which might be coming later this year. Now, we don't really have any details about this, but it has been something that the players have been asking for a long time. It would be a great way just for club competitions, but also to be able to race players in other clubs, because right now the only ways you can race other players, like to purposely get in a room with them, is to either be in their club or just happen to find them in multiplayer. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. Here I thought I'd come in first, but unfortunately he cut the corner a little bit closer at the end, giving him the victory, but we were only a 30th of a second behind. Would be 1 frame back in Asphalt 8 days, but now since Asphalt 9 is 60 frames per second, that would be the equivalent of 2 frames. Now we're in our final race, which is on Nevada against an Acura, a couple of Gallardos, a couple of Vencer Sarts, as well as an Aranera Hacera. Yeah, and pretty much the Acura is the one that's right behind us right now. That's quite interesting. I think it's because that car also has a really great acceleration, but as we'll see, and we'll see at the end of the race, that other players will start to catch up to him, but I'm definitely going to try to avoid them catching up to me, and it seems like I have lost them on my slipstream. So that was my goal for the rest of the race, just keep them off of that the best that I could. So now it's time for my general review about this car. It was a great one to go for in the car hunt if you didn't have it yet, or to start up. It's very good for C-Class multiplayer and max, very fun to drive. The top speed and the handling could be better, and the nitro could too, but all in all, they are good enough for multiplayer and for the class in general, although not really an events car, multiplayer definitely. The acceleration is definitely the biggest selling point of this car. I believe it is the best in C-Class, or if not, definitely one of the best. This car has been overlooked for quite a while, but I'm hoping that the car hunt will change that and we'll start to see some more of them in multiplayer. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!